All right, young scholars, this is our last JavaScript lecture out of our three. This last week of JavaScript, we're going to focus on utilizing JavaScript solely to create graphs within our HTML code. So all of these slides, except for the last few, focus on how you can create certain graphs within JavaScript in order to assist you with the JavaScript team assignment. So on slide 2 here, if you were to copy the right-hand side, or the left-hand side first rather, and then the left-hand side, and place it in your WYSIWYG and click run, you will see here that we have created a scatter plot using JavaScript. We create a canvas to draw our plots on. Then we create what kind of dimension it is. We set a height and width, and then we add in our array of variables, 50, 60, etc. for the X, so on and so forth for the Y. And you notice the last two numbers are on the same level due to the matching number of characters. And then in order to set the X and Y with our height and width, we have these formulas here. On slide 3, if you were to copy the code from the left-hand side and the right-hand side, you'll notice that we will create a line graph using JavaScript. And we do similar. We create a canvas where we're going to put our line onto. So in this instance, we have a function that sets our slope and intercept that allows us to create that line. Pretty basic because we do not have the matching tick marks to show what each number focuses on. On slide 4, if you were to click on notes and copy the code provided and run it in your WYSIWYG, you would see, similar to the visual result provided here, for the combination of a scatter and line plot. So you have that same scatter plot we showed in slide 2, combined with the line graph that we saw in slide 3. On slide 5, we have vertical bar charts. If you were to copy from the left-hand side and the right-hand side and combine that into your WYSIWYG, you'll see an example like so, where we are now using Plotly to produce a bar graph. If you were to look at the bottom of this week, your team assignment for JavaScript is using one of the graphs reviewed in this week's PowerPoint to plot all team members with fictitious data points. For the best results, I tell you to consider using the bar charts, which is what we have here. So if you were going to modify the vertical bar chart here in order to meet the requirements of this team assignment for this week, you'd put in your 4 team members' names. Let's say Joe, Rob, Tom, and Jim, just as an example. And you would delete out that 5th bar there. And then you would change up the random numbers associated. So let's pretend that these are grades. So Joe has a 98, Rob has an 89. Let's say Tom has a 74 and Jim has a 94. And then again, you have to delete out that last variable because we only have 4. We have to match with our Y arrays. And now if you were to run this, it might take a minute to pop up, but you have Joe, Rob, Tom, Jim, and then their grades. If you wanted to, you could then change the title. Worldwide wine production. You can now change that to Info 2105 grades so far, let's say. And then you were to click run. And that plot would now change. So the reason I suggest these bar charts is they're the easiest to modify and change in order to accomplish the team assignment for JavaScript. So if you wanted to do a horizontal bar chart, you'd copy the code from the left-hand side, then copy the code from the right-hand side, put it in your WYSIWYG, and you'll notice now it's vertical, or horizontal rather, instead of vertical. And as a result, the arrays now flip where the number is on top. So let's say we change that title again to Info 2105, grades so far. And this time, let's say we have Alex, Ralph, George, and Jessica. And again, since there's only 4 members in each team, we delete that last one. And now we have to put 4 corresponding grades. So 85, let's say for the first one, 99 for the second one, let's say 54 for George. And then let's say 94 for Jessica. And again, we delete that last one because you only have 4 team members. And now we run and everything changes up to what we just posted. So now Jessica is 94, George is 54, Ralph is 99, and Alex is 85. You'll notice it goes backwards to what we put in here compared to the vertical, which goes right in order. So as mentioned, that's why I recommend doing those, because they are the easiest to edit. You could consider modifying the pie chart to do the same. If you were to copy the code from slide 7, pop it into the WYSIWYG, it would look like so. And you would do the same. You'd modify each of these countries to the team members' names, and then modify the numbers as you so chose to match them, and then change the title to reflect whatever specifically your numbers reflect, your data points. On slide 8, you'll notice donut charts. If you were to copy the code and pop it into the WYSIWYG, same thing, except now instead of a pie, it's a donut. It removes that center space. And you would modify the same. These countries, you modified in the names, and then you have the array numbers, data points match that. 4 members, 4 numbers, instead of the 5 and 5 currently listed. On slide 9, if you were to copy the left-hand side, followed by the right-hand side, again, we use Plotly for more advanced scatter plots. And in this instance, now you see the tick marks. We have everything set up for us. So our range has been later labeled square meters, that x-axis. And we have our range set 40 to 160. And then our y-axis is labeled price in millions, where we've labeled it 5 to 16. And then we've given our title for it. And you'll notice in this example, JavaScript comments are put within our JavaScript section. So you know what each part is doing. We're defining the data here, our markers, which is simply our info from the arrays. Then we're defining the layout. What's our range? What's our title? And then finally, we're using Plotly to plot out all of these data points. So again, this one would be a little harder to modify to include the names of all of the team members. That's why I recommended the bar charts. On slide 10 here, if you were to copy the right-hand side, or the left-hand side first rather, then the right-hand side, and pop that in your WYSIWYG, you'll notice a line graph instead of the scatter plot. And we do the same exact thing here, except we are now setting it up as mode lines for the line plot, whereas previously we used mode markers for our scatter plot. So again, this example is a little too involved to have all of the 4 team members represented in data points. But again, here you'll see that we're importing the Plotly JavaScript in order to help us create these charts. On slide 11, if you were to copy the left-hand side and then right-hand side and pop it into your WYSIWYG, you'll notice we create what are called bubble plots. You'll see here, we have these little bubbles popping out to represent our data points. Then we have above it, we've set various symbols to represent each of our bubble points. So the first is a circle, second is a square, third is a diamond, fourth is a cross. And within our bubbles, we use that same markers mode from the scatter plots. However, we now set our markers. The first color is set as red, second green, third blue, last orange, although it looks kind of not so orange on the screen right now. And then we set the size, 20, smallest first, and gets bigger. You could technically have a bubble plot where they're all the same size. If you were to modify and make them all 20, now they're all the same size. But as you've seen in the past, bubbles tend to get bigger as you blow them out of your wand. On slide 12, if you were to click Notes, copy and paste the code provided, and run it in your WYSIWYG, you'd simply get a multi-line graph, which just utilizes a math function within JavaScript in order to display these 3 functions: y equals x, y equals 1.5 plus x, or times x, y equals 1.5 times x plus 7. Now, previously, you've seen what a dropdown looks like in simple HTML and how much better it looks with CSS. In this example, on slide 13, if you were to copy the left-hand slide and then the right-hand side and post them into your WYSIWYG and click Run, you'll notice now we have created a dropdown using JavaScript. We've created options for my select of apple, orange, pineapple, and banana. We've created an on-click that says output all options. So our function above refers to that my select. It finds whatever you've selected. So I'm going to select pineapple. And if I click output all options, everything is outputted. Most people would want to set a drop down, have the selection, and then click make selection and have it be stored somewhere, like you would see with a poll, for example. But I just wanted to show you specifically how you could technically make a drop down using JavaScript here. So this is all you would do after creating your function up top to create this my select. And we do select ID in order to refer back to that. Our remaining few slides here, 14 through 17, are simply a review of on-clicks that we covered in the first week of JavaScript. You're welcome to try them out with your WYSIWYG as a result. And then the last two slides show you what a JavaScript page onload and image onload would look like that we referenced within the first week of JavaScript. So again, that team assignment for JavaScript is to use one of the graphs provided in this PowerPoint to plot all team members and fictitious data points. That is why I mentioned with these bar graphs, it's much easier to do it with them as opposed to some of these more advanced graphs like the bubble plot. And as always, if you should have any questions, feel free to stop in on the Teams meeting.